good to have you join us today. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. We have a lot lined up for you today, so let's get started with a glimpse of the day's highlights. President Park Geun-hye is traveling to Mexico next week for summit talks. Boosting business ties between the two countries will be a key issue of interest. We'll sit down with an expert to talk about this. LG's flagship smartphone G5 has hit the stores here in Korea. Can this new phone help the company regain its footing against Samsung and Apple? These stories and more coming right up. Could it be another false dawn or the start of a gradual recovery for the Korean economy? The country's manufacturing output rose at the fastest pace in over 6 years in February, while business sentiment also improved. Our Hwang Jae starts us off.
Korea's output in the mining and manufacturing sectors was strong in February. Statistics Korea says production in the sectors rose 3.3% from the previous month, marking the fastest pace of on-month expansion since September 2009. The finance ministry says the rise came on the back of a pickup in demand for semiconductors, a sector that saw production spike nearly 20% from January. Demand for mobile chips has risen as Korea's biggest tech giant Samsung Electronics released its new flagship Galaxy S7 smartphones. Adding to the optimism, data from the Bank of Korea shows that manufacturers' business sentiment in March rose 5 points from a month earlier to 68. It marks the first rise in 5 months, taming concerns over uncertainties in financial markets early this year that dampened business and consumer confidence. Still, a reading under 100 means pessimists outnumber optimists. And although the overall industrial output that includes all of the country's sectors rebounded in February, it's a mere uptick as output growth and domestic demand dragged down the rise in the manufacturing sector. Retail sales dropped nearly 2% from the previous month. Hwang Jae, Business Daily.
On the back of Korea's rapidly aging population, we're seeing workers in their 50s and above now outnumbering those in their 20s and 30s. According to Statistics Korea, 9.37 million people in their 20s and 30s were employed as of last year, making up a little over 36% of the working population. Over 9.6 million workers in their 50s and above made up 37.2%, outnumbering young workers for the first time since the agency began collecting related data in 2000. The average age of a worker in Korea stood at 44.4 years, up 0.2 years from the previous year. Experts say this uptrend in the number of older workers will continue as the retirement age was extended to 60 starting this year. Set to catch the next wave of growth in manufacturing seems to be Mexico. And with hopes of opening the door for business opportunities for Korea and the Mexican market, President Park Geun-hye has embarked on a trip for summit talks. So, how will this visit help boost the two countries' economic relations? Let's find out.
With a population of 120 million, Mexico shines bright with a $1.28 trillion gross domestic product. And with Korea being Mexico's 6th biggest trading partner, trade between the two nations amounted to nearly $16 billion as of 2014. In fact, the two countries have a lot in common. Korea and Mexico are both considered emerging economies and are members of the Group of 20. And having gone through high levels of industrialization, they both see solid international trade as fundamental engines of their economies. Viewing Mexico as a complementary business partner with abundant natural resources, President Park Geun-hye is headed to the Latin American nation on Monday with the largest ever business delegation, with the hopes of opening up a door of new opportunities for Korean companies.
And to tell us more about this, we're now joined by Professor Kim Se-won from Ewha Women's University. Welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so President Park Geun-hye is set to visit Mexico next week to meet with her counterpart to talk about various ways to, boost bilateral relations in respective economies once she's there. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Mexican market itself. I mean, we've been hearing that Mexico has been enjoying quite a profusion of growth in its manufacturing sector.
Well, in the past, the economic value of Mexico has been underestimated in Korea. We have known Mexico as a country located in the vicinity of the United States. But indeed, Mexico became a production base for huge international companies from Europe, Japan, and particularly United States. So, and the role of the manufacturing center is becoming larger and larger over time.
And I guess because of those reasons, we're seeing major global companies investing in Mexico. So can you tell us more about these companies and what they hope to get out of the Mexican market?
Well, the most active investor to Mexican market is automakers from all over the world. So in the case of the United States, two major companies, Ford and GM, Ford and GM established their production line from 1990s.
Wow.
And Japanese automakers, Honda, Nissan, and from Europe, Audi and BMW also have their own production lines.
Now, at this point, we're wondering, what exactly is Mexico's strength, especially when it comes to its manufacturing sector then?
Well, I believe there are three strengths in the Mexico's manufacturing. The first is a geographical closeness to Canada and United States. The second is high quality, inexpensive labor. Of course, Chinese labor is lower than that of the Mexico, but considering the transportation cost from China to North America, Mexico's labor cost is pretty much attractive. The last strength is the last regulation from Mexican government. In the case of the Canada and United States, they have very strict regulations on environment and labor union, etc. So these three strengths of the Mexico makes Mexico's manufacturing very strong.
Now let's shift our focus a little bit to the current economic relations between Korea and Mexico. Do the two countries have a free trade agreement in place?
Not yet. Actually, there was negotiations of the free trade FTA between Mexico and Korea in 2008, but that has been stopped because of the strong oppositions from Mexico's auto industries. But it is said that Mexico's attitudes on FTA with Korea has been changed. So they are more interested in FTA with Korea. And in addition, actually, in the competition between RCEP and TPP, it is very strategically important to enlarge our production in Mexico because until we are fully involved in TPP.
So that thing looks hopeful, the FTA between Mexico and Korea
Exactly.
in the future. All right, what's the situation like right now when it comes to Korean businesses entering the Mexican market then?
Well, according to KOTRA, quite a few large companies have their own production lines in Mexico. The LG's auto parts division and Samsung Electronics, Costco, all have their production lines in Mexico. And recently, the medium-sized companies are increasing their investment in facilities in Mexico.
Now, what's interesting is that President Park is traveling with the largest ever business delegation to Mexico. So what is she planning to accomplish while she's there?
Well, President Park will try best to open more chances in participating in Mexico's high-tech and high-value industries like energy, IT, and education. So it is a great chance to expand Korean companies' business in Mexico and South and North American markets.
Now, those sound like a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, there are concerns about threats that Korean businesses could face once it enters the Mexican market.
Well, public safety actually is one of the crucial problems that interrupt the economic growth of the Mexico. So according to international human rights organizations, there are officially over 2,000 kidnaps in Mexico in a year.
2,000 in a year?
That's the official report. But international organizations are saying that the real size of the kidnapping is 10 times larger than that.
Oh, wow. So those are some of the threats. Are there any other threats that businesses could face in the working or the business environment?
Well, and the political situation in Mexico is pretty unstable. We talked about the regulation from the Mexico, and the reason why they have pretty loose regulations on manufacturers in Mexico is the political power is not generated from the government.
All right, so what is Korea expecting Mexico to provide as a complementary business partner in the future?
Well, President Park's visit to Mexico is a great chance to expand our business to both of the North American and South American market because Mexico is a a bridgehead to both of the markets. So we have to fully utilize President Park's visit and fully utilize Mexico's strengths in manufacturing.
All right, we'll definitely look forward to what comes out of that visit on Monday. Thank you so much for coming in today, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Still profitable, but less so. Once considered a profit-making machine, Korea's duty-free industry appears to be losing some of its luster. Major player Hotel Shilla says the duty-free unit last year recorded sales of $2.5 billion. That is a year-over-year gain of 12%, but not as stellar compared to the 20% increase recorded in the period through 2014. Operating profit, meanwhile, plunged by nearly 39%. Defending king of Korea's $8 billion duty-free market, Lotte Duty Free saw its 2015 sales growth stunt by more than 10 percentage points. The industry attributes the trend to shrunken tourist traffic last year on the back of the MERS outbreak and the global economic slowdown. The G5, the latest smartphone from Korean tech giant LG Electronics, hits the shelves today. And there are expectations that the phone's innovative new features could make it a big hit. But the bigger question is, will the G5 help LG smash Apple and Samsung's dominance? Our Kim Min-ji has this report.
Fun is what LG Electronics is promoting with its new G5, which hit shelves on Thursday. With a price tag of roughly $700 in Korea, it's the industry's first modular smartphone, which means users can connect various add-ons to instantly improve camera or sound functions. Aside from the modules, other accessories provide the user with an entirely new experience. With the 360 cam, I can capture everything around me thanks to two 180-degree lenses on the front and back of the device. LG says it was thinking outside the box this time around.
Our aim was to get away from the conventional smartphone and give users an experience they've never had before. We'll continue to develop unique products to differentiate ourselves from the competition.
And so far, LG seems to be on track with the majority of consumers who've tried out the product already satisfied.
I like that there's two types of lenses that can take both wide and original shots. It's easy to change from one mode to another.
It's an extremely modern design, so I think many young people will like it. I need to change my phone soon, and it's impressive enough for me to consider it as one of my options.
But will it be enough to turn the tide? LG's local rival Samsung Electronics recently began sales of its new models, while Apple has released lower-end smartphones in emerging markets. On top of that, fierce competition from Chinese rivals has eroded LG's share in the global market. Analysts say although the G5 turned out well, it all boils down to how many units LG can shift.
It remains to be seen whether the older generation will buy the G5 due to the modules. Besides, the market is already saturated, so a lot depends on how well LG can appeal to and target the people planning to switch phones. Now that Samsung's phones are already out, LG should use this time well to market its products before Apple releases its next iPhone.
The early popularity of the G5 will likely help LG turn a profit in the second quarter of this year. But analysts say down the road, the company with the best two-track approach, namely expanding production of lower-end phones while turning a profit from high-end models, will be best placed to ride the wave of the flooded smartphone market. Kim Min-ji, Business Daily.
A major transformation is expected in Daegu, a city roughly 300 kilometers southeast of Seoul, as two large firms are working together to build a cutting-edge Internet of Things infrastructure across the city. Now, this comes after the Korean government designated Daegu as one of the 14 regulation-free zones across the nation last year. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
Just with one click on a smartphone, you can control the tent of a greenhouse, water crops, and open the door automatically. All of this is made possible through IoT, or the Internet of Things, which connects devices online through electronic sensors that allow remote controlling. The efficiency and economic benefits that come from direct integration of the physical world and computer-based systems appear to be more than promising. This is why Korea's largest network operator, SK Telecom, said it will build the world's first IoT pilot city in the nation's southeastern city of Daegu in partnership with Samsung Electronics to help revitalize the sagging regional economy and nurture local startups.
The global IoT market is projected to grow as big as $1 trillion by 2020. We believe IoT will not only improve people's lives, but also contribute to efficient business management and industrial development.
SK Telecom added it plans to invest $78 million to establish an IoT network testbed area first, and then expand this across the city by May. Meanwhile, Samsung will supply hardware devices as well as disclose its IoT-related intellectual property rights to support technology development. The Daegu city government said it will offer financial support of some $873 million for the two companies. Its designation as a regulation-free zone, which potentially will come this year, is also expected to assist startups in developing new technologies for renewable energy, medical services, and electric cars.
The fact that a global firm chose Daegu as its testbed to commercialize the IoT industry is not only meaningful for the future of this city, but for Korea as well.
SK says the project is expected to attract more than $8 billion in private investments and create over 10,000 jobs. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
And that does it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.